So there are several nations I don't think are gonna survive this century. I'm going to go over several of them in separate videos, but the first one we'll be talking about is the Ukraine. So the Ukraine is that country that borders Russia that Russia invaded, and basically because of the Ukraine war, Ukraine is basically dead. Yes, Ukraine has no way of surviving this, so mortality in the Ukraine is 3 times higher than the country's birth rate. The growing demographic crisis worsened by Russia's full-scale invasion. Ukraine's population is reeling from the military year. So, for the first half of the year, 87,000 people were born in the Ukraine. You think, oh, that's a lot of people. But Ukraine has around 40 million people. I think it was before I think now it's like 37 million. But this is something that Ukraine, 258,000 people died. So this is not, and that while more people died in the COVID, and that the birth rate continues to increase in the Ukraine. And this is going to be a country that's going to die. This in Korea. Okay. Korea. And also you have countries demographically, as well. I don't want to get into that one. I don't want to get canceled. But talking about immigration in that one, and it's not just the Western world; it's also the Arabic world too, the Arabic Peninsula. I think if people really want to hear me talk about that stuff, because both the Western world and the Arabic Peninsula, that both regions decided to, hey, you know, and it's weird that the Arabic Peninsula. I think they just wanted to have more people to work in those countries, and the rest is because of demographic aging and decline. Okay, but both regions are expected to see population increase because of immigration solely. But even I said in one of my first videos on this channel that isn't the solution many times. No, not many times. In the first video, because a lot of these countries have very low birth rates now. Mexico, India, Philippines. They have all below replacement birth rates now. But Ukraine will likely not exist. Like everybody's talking about how Russia's not gonna exist in the next 30 to 40 years or blah blah blah. And yes, there's a possibility that Russia might break up, but there's also a possibility that we could have, and will likely have, a Ukraine-less world. Yes, which means Russia has already won. Okay, Russia has already won because Ukraine's demographics is so disastrous. Okay, even if there's a post-war bump, which there probably would be, as every country usually has that post-war. Syria had it. There was the baby boomers, obviously the most notable. I think Vietnam and Korea had a post-war bump as well. Notable wars. Iraq probably did as well. African countries usually have wars all the time, but they usually receive a post-war bump, usually, because a lot of people wanna, have, who, survived the war, wanna have, families, and that's what happened to the baby boomer generation. Obviously, was born, but Ukraine is there is no way Ukraine is gonna survive. Of course, re-immigration could be a possibility that I think a lot of countries are going to explore in the next coming decades because of low birth rates. Okay, especially a country like Mexico. If you, I saw a video, I saw an article about Latin America's worsening birth rate crisis. They say that it's getting just as bad as Eastern Europe. Okay, that's how bad it is getting in Latin America. Okay, Chile's birth rate is around 1. Okay, that's what I saw on X, or formerly known as Twitter, which means Latin America has, which I'll probably make a video about that one. Latin America, people want to see that one. But it seems that Ukraine is going to be destroyed. There's no future for Ukraine. Okay, because people in Ukraine don't want to have kids, and people in Ukraine are dying for the country. Meanwhile, mothers don't want to have kids. Okay, I think this is a crisis we're going to have to solve either through technology or teaching the younger generation that the importance of family instead of indoctrinating them to become atheists. Oh, I wonder why people aren't having kids anymore. Let's indoctrinate the kids to become atheists. Yes, sound sir, sound sir. Let's indoctrinate the kids to become atheists. You know, indoctrinate kids to hate their culture, hate their culture and race, and everything else. Oh yeah, that's totally, not gonna affect birth rates at all. But even then, even like Japan and China and Korea, they're mostly atheist countries. I think there is a link between religion and birth rates. Oh wait, that still doesn't explain why India, Philippines, and Latin America, three of the most religious areas in the world, those birth rates have plummeted as well. Okay, Mexico, I think 85% of the population is religious. And it seems that even Mexico or India, birth rates are below replacement. Okay, so in the Western world, I think that's the reason why he says this, because of the higher rates of atheism, and I think India and Mexico and the Philippines, I think it's because of overpopulation. Because in the 1950s, India had like 600 million people, Philippines had like 20 million people, and Mexico had like 20 million people. All three countries ballooned in population. I think you're going to see a very similar thing happen in Africa as well. Okay, well, Africa's population is ballooning, like the Philippines did last century, India did last century, and Mexico and Latin America did last century. But once once a country reaches a certain population, the country's birth rate starts to fall massively, because it's in those countries, I think it's kind of being seen as a population control. There's too many people in this area. We're concerned that there may be too many people in the area, so we're gonna lower the birth rates for now. And once the population falls enough to a more stable population, we're gonna try to keep the birth rate stable. I think that might happen in like Philippines and India, and maybe Latin America. But this is a crisis I think no one is really getting out of safely. Maybe besides the Orthodox Jews and Amish and, all of these secluded groups that, have 6 to 10 kids as well. And I made a video about, the Amish and the other channel and the Mormons, talking about how that's the real demographic future of the US. And of course, it ruffled a few feathers, because everybody sees the projections, but Latin America birth rates, if we look at the Latin America birth rates, are very low. But let's go back to Ukraine as well. And you can see that I think there's going to be a Ukraine this world, okay? I don't think Ukraine as a nation will survive this, okay? Ukraine as a nation is done for, okay? Ukraine, after the war with Russia, they better try to do everything they can to raise up the birth rate of Ukraine. Okay? And knowing the government, they don't know really how to. Okay? They're gonna probably try, Western Europe did, and import millions of people, because I think that's what they're gonna probably do. But I think Western Europe is starting to slowly but surely learn the lesson. That's not the way to do it. You should, it's gonna make the people already living there upset. And same thing you can say with the USA. I'm shocked that there isn't a pullback from the Arabic countries, but probably because nobody talks about it as well. And also, so most of the people who come in to those Arabic countries are mostly men anyways, which only come down to work and get a paycheck. Those countries are very weird, okay? Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, as well, Australia. Okay, Australia's that one. But Ukraine, the end of Ukraine. Okay, the end of Ukraine. We're going to see a world without Ukraine. Okay. And demographically, Russia is faring way better than Ukraine. Okay. Everybody talk about the fall of Russia, the end of Russia, the end of Russia. Russia is over. Russia is over. Yes. Okay. And Russia is gone. Okay. Russia is going to be gone forever. Okay. But I think Ukraine might go first because of this crisis Ukraine seems to have. Okay. And we're going to see what happens in the future, obviously. But I think Ukraine and Korea might be the first countries to literally disappear because of demographics. Literally disappear off the map. Okay? Which means Kim Jong Un, okay, all he has to wait is for, they can play the long game. North Korea will eventually take over South Korea if they manage to get the birth rate way higher than, the South. North Korea managed to get the birth rate way higher than the South. They will be able to take over South Korea very easily because it'll be a massive ghost town. Okay? But we'll talk about Korea in another video. And the dangerous implications it could be for other countries. And that's it about this video here. Goodbye.